Welcome back to another episode of the Prevail with Justice podcast. Y'all, get your notebooks, get your notes out, okay? Get you something to drink. Let's get into it. Today's topic is the art of surrender. Quick little backstory, okay? People always ask me, um, how I am enduring my weight, right? Especially people who know me closely, who are on like very similar journeys. I often get asked like how I do that and how I keep faith even when there is no evidence of what is going on and where the blessing or the new life or the promise even is when I don't know where it is. How do I keep going? And one of the one of the scriptures that I live by is faith being the evidence of things not seen. And it really is. It is the substance of things hoped for. So one of the things that helps me to maintain my faith, maintain my posture, keep going, keep being looking forward, keep being optimistic is surrendering and detaching. And granted, I know we hear a lot about that on social media in terms of decentering men and detaching from relationships and whatever the case. But I have a different take on why surrender is necessary. And if you are a spiritual person, which I'm believing that you are if you're watching this right now, especially if you're Christian, surrender and detach is all up and through everything we consume. Surrender, right? You have to relinquish your own control, lean not on your own understanding, all of those various things, right? Be anxious for nothing, but instead pray, right? Surrender. That is detaching, that is surrendering. So, I want to give you the definitions of surrender and detachment because though they are often substituted for one another, they are used in parallels. They are oftentimes synonymous. They do have different definitions, and I want to give you both with a little bit of an explanation to go along with it. So, surrender is the conscious release of control and resistance. It is an act of trust that says, I believe God's plan for me is better than my need to control. Okay. Release of control and resistance. That's what surrender is. All right. You took your hands off it. That's surrender. All right. So, detachment. Detachment is the practice of holding desire without dependence, caring deeply without clinging tightly. All right. You're clinging You're caring deeply without clinging tightly. That is when you are holding on to something and you can release, right? We used to say or we used to hear in kids words. We used to hear in cartoons as kids all the time, like, oh, I wish with all my might. You got to release at some point, right? You have to breathe. You have to give the results and the outcome an opportunity to find different ways to get to you, right? Because we are all a part of a bigger picture. We're part of something way bigger. So the thing that we're desiring has to go through different loops in order to get to us. But when we surrender and when we detach, we allow the world to open up to us and we allow God to take the reins on it and get it to us in a way that is far better than we could ever imagine, right? So, with that being said, surrender is the bridge between revelation and reality. That is point number one. Revelation is the bridge between revelation and reality. Another little bit about me, or not even, I would, there are times where like you may pray and ask God for a sign, or you just may start seeing different things and it may be God communicating with you. I'll give you a little bit of a story that I'm currently living through and experiencing and segue into a conversation that I was having with a friend. But I am a dreamer. Y'all found that out about me in the last episode. But along with the dreams, I started seeing, along with different dreams that I've been having, there's just different categories of dreams, right? And I will see either certain number sequences. A lot of times I'll wake up out of a dream at a specific time, right? And when I wake up out of the dream at a specific time, I often will see that number again, right? I've noticed it in hindsight. I've noticed it as a pattern. When I wake out of the dream, I see the number. I'll start seeing the number like in different places, right? And I remember like being frustrated because I would keep seeing numbers, I would keep seeing signs. And this also speaks to people who may ask God for a sign about a specific thing, right? There are people who like are sharing stories like on TikTok and whatnot about how they ask God for a sign about a specific person, right? Say like they're praying about a husband, they want to see a specific sign, or like they ask God for a code, they give God a code word or a sign that they want to see to confirm, you know, their desire. They will see that sign, right? But when you're constantly seeing the sign, but you're not seeing the promise, it can be very frustrating. And that is where surrender really plays a part and has really been instrumental for me, because I will get frustrated, or I have gotten frustrated. I'm a lot better about it now. I've gotten frustrated, I've gotten anxious, I've gotten annoyed, I've gotten angry. All of those things, baby, it's like stages of grief. Okay. There's a lot going on. It's like, okay, God, what are you even doing? Especially when it's something like you didn't even ask for, or something that, like, there are things that He's been showing me that are happening. It's not making sense. Okay. One and one is not equaling two, four, six, or any multiple of any of the numbers. The math is not mathing. Okay. It's not. So I would get frustrated, but I learned to surrender. And what does that surrender look like? It's probably a question that you're asking. I'm going to get to that at the end. But one thing that I will mention right now is, while you're waiting for that bridge to conclude, or for the connection to be made, praise your way through, worship your way through. If you are a Christian, worship. If you are whatever else, baby, meditate. Okay. Um, that is when you allow yourself a moment to still, and your spirit to align with the one who ultimately breathed you into this reality. So I will worship and spend time with God. And I remember one day I was so, baby, hope was deferred, heart was sick, ill, all of the things. And I was like, God, I don't even know what to pray right now. And I literally just lay in the floor and sang, I surrender all, until I felt like I had truly surrendered all. And sometimes that's just what it looks like. So that's what it was for me. And I'm still in the waiting process for all of the things, but I'm starting to see tangible fruit of it, which leads me to the second part, or my second point, excuse me. Detachment is the language of trust. Okay? It is not coldness, it is confidence in God to deliver your promise. When I stopped trying to control connection, when I stopped trying to control outcome, I started to hear God more clearly, right? I could start hearing direction. I could hear things to do. I could hear projects. I could hear my arc assignment, right? I could hear what I needed to be doing. And when you detach, it's imagine yourself saying, I don't even care about that no more. Knowing dang well, baby, you care. You care a lot. You care so much so that you're gonna act hard body right now and cry yourself to sleep tonight, right? Let's take that same like scenario, but let's also like sit with ourselves, right? And say, wow, I care a lot about this. I care deeply. I feel a way. I feel a lot. And because I feel a lot, I am going to release these feelings and believe that everything's going to be fine. And while you're waiting on something to be fine, you go do something else. Okay. You go focus on your assignment. You go pick up a hobby. You go do something that is going to build you. You go read a book. I don't know, listen to a sermon, cut on this podcast, huh? Better yourself in the process while you are detaching and trusting that things are working for you on the back end. It is literally the best way to build confidence, and not just in a spiritual way, but a mental way. You can look at everything and say, all right, this is what it looks like right now, but I can detach from this knowing that I don't know how it's going to go. It could go either way. It could go either way. But when you won't relinquish control of it because you're so attached to it, you're so anxious, you want to control the narrative so bad, you don't let it work for you or against you. So when you release it, you're trusting that God is going to work things out in the way that it should be done. And while you are releasing, you must surrender your fear and believe that everything is going to be fine, even when it looks bad. And there are a couple different like scenarios that I can think of in the Bible that really speak to like this surrendering and then something scary happen, or like you move and you believe and then something like crazy happens, right? Like there's a lot, but we're going to keep it simple for now. I'm not going to go deep into it. But when you stop trying to control the narrative, you stop trying to control the connection, you can start to hear God more clearly. And in the last episode, I talked about rewriting the narrative, right? At this point, you're rewriting your beliefs, but you're rewriting them so that the story can unfold the way it's supposed to, with the proper, healthy attachment to it. I hope it's starting to make sense. So, number 3 is that the waiting season is the refining fire that teaches you to rest. When you surrender, when you detach, you give your mind, you give your body space to rest, to relax, to receive, right? You begin to open yourself. And while you're waiting, you must remain open. And that's ultimately what surrendering and detachment is about. You're relinquishing control so that you can open yourself up to be ready to receive. But in that, you're being refined by fire, right? You're being refined, you're being purged. You may go through pruning, people may fall off. You're going to notice yourself growing and changing in so many ways when you surrender, because you now have room, you now have space to receive this thing. It's like clearing out the closet. You know you want new clothes. You know you want a better wardrobe. So make room. Surrender. Know what you want. Know what you want in the closet. Have the vision, right? Have your Pinterest board, baby, all of the things. But in the meantime, you must make room. You must make space. And we must clear out a lot of the clutter, a lot of the things, and be confident in when I put this in God's hands, when I clear this stuff out, when I get rid of it, it's going to go where it's supposed to go and it's going to work how it's supposed to. And then it's going to come to me, right? So I'm going to give you some practical steps, three practical tips that have worked for me in terms of working through surrendering. And I am talking about surrender. We're having this conversation right now. You're probably like, girl, I thought I did detach. It keeps coming back up. I thought I surrendered and I'm still anxious. I still feel away. Guess what, baby? Surrender is a recurring process. You don't just say, oh, I surrender one time and then magically all of your feelings, all of your emotions, all of your thoughts just dissipate. That's not how this works. You're going to have to constantly remind yourself that you're detaching. You're going to have to constantly surrender. You're going to have to constantly posture yourself in worship, posture yourself in prayer, right? So, with that being said, I know that it is an ongoing process and it is not easy to do by any means. Defying gravity is not easy, okay? It takes a lot of work to do so. So, with that being said, number 1 is deflecting in a healthy way. I talked about it a little bit before when I mentioned detaching being trust. Deflect in a healthy way, right? Have your hobbies, focus on your assignment. What are you supposed to be doing right now? What is the thing that is calling you, the hobby, the task, the dream, the passion that you think about every day that you could be working on now, but you're waiting for this big moment, right? What if this small step leads to that big moment? It does. But the longer it takes you to start the small thing, the longer it takes for you to get to the big thing. So do something while you're waiting. Deflect in a healthy way. Find a healthy distraction that is constructive for you. Okay. So for me, that looks like sitting in front of this camera. For me, it looks like turning the things that I'm learning into material that I can share with other people who may be experiencing the same thing. So you're going to hear that point again, but deflect in a healthy way, be it hobbies, focusing on your assignment. If there's something that you need to be doing that you're not doing, it could be going to the gym, it could be reading a book, it could be learning, it could be whatever, but make it a constructive, healthy distraction. Okay. That's number 1. And while you're doing that, that doesn't mean you're not going to think about it, but you're going to be able to transmute that energy into something tangible, into something measurable, into something you can see. You can control that part of your narrative, but the bigger picture is out of your hands. But you're going to feel better because now you're controlling something. You're able to focus and lock in on something. All right. Number two, hold your desire with love, not anxiety. When we talk about detachment, we talk about trust, we talk about confidence, you're holding it with love. I told you before, allow yourself to feel all of the emotions connected to whatever desire you have. And when you release it with an affirmation, release it with a God, I thank you that this is coming to me, right? One of my go tos right now is God, I thank you that the promise will meet me in motion. That covers everything. The promise will meet me in motion. The promise will meet me in motion. I also tell myself, focus on the assignment. Feel what you're feeling. Be questioning, be have questions about it, but proceed with what you're working on. Stay focused, right? Hear the thing, acknowledge it, stay focused. Cool. That's what we're doing here, right? So something that I use for constant practice, I just told you, an affirmation, thanking God, using gratitude, telling myself that the promise will meet me in motion. Those are some things that I do because when I allow myself to relinquish control, I can hear God more clearly. So when I affirm those things, I allow myself to remain open. And another thing that works is deep breathing. I love a good cleansing breath, right? We will do 3 deep cleansing breaths to reset ourselves. And then I will remind myself, focus on the assignment. Simple. That covers everything. Meditation helps as well. If you like to meditate, I meditate to worship music. Sometimes I'll sing a song. I just told y'all I'll sing I Surrender All for 5 minutes until I feel like something shifted. Okay. Until I feel like my head is clear, whatever the case, right? So things like that. Hopefully that helps. If you need some affirmations, there are plenty all over the internet. You can get on Chat GPT. Okay. What are you waiting on? What are you anxious about? And get some affirmations that will help you to keep your head clear and help you to detach and surrender. The next thing is trade win for what? Y'all, this freed me so much. This should be the one point and we could go home. Trade win for what? Trade when will it happen for what am I learning in the process? When you focus on what's in front of you and lean deeply into your process and you focus on showing up for the process, showing up for your assignment, showing up for yourself, show up and ask what am I learning right now? I get so engulfed in what I'm learning right now that sometimes I will forget what I'm learning it for. Like I know what I'm learning it for. I know what I'm waiting for, but it's like I start to see that while I'm focused on this big mansion, I'm laying bricks right now. While I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, the mansion, how am I gonna get there? Baby, the bricks are in your hand right now. Like you're literally like it's like you look around yourself and like, dang, like this is really my life, right? Metaphorically speaking, when I shifted my mindset from when will it happen to what am I learning, I started to literally see the framework metaphorically of the house that I am creating right now. Like, and it was so beautiful. It freed me so much because I no longer get anxious. I no longer get, now granted, I do get weary in well doing sometimes, all right? But I don't faint, but I do get weary, okay? But I have so much more gratitude for the process when I lean into it and I can literally see the growth. I can track the growth. So when I'm tracking the growth, guess what else I can do? I can track when we're going to be finished. I can track our progress. I can track how much closer we're getting to said thing, right? When you can measure your growth and you can look back and metaphorically look at the bricks that you are laying when you're building something brick by brick, you can see the proof of what you're doing. You can see the fruit of it. Baby, anxious for what? Anxious for what? But that is the beauty of surrendering. When you surrender, it repositions and realigns you with the thing that you want. Imagine If I was just out here asking all these questions and I'm anxious, I'm nowhere near the goal. I'm nowhere near the promise. I'm nowhere near the reality or the revelation or the manifestation of the thing because I'm in my head so much. I'm holding so closely, tightly to it that I'm not giving it room to unfold before me. So when you surrender, when you detach, you allow the thing to happen. You give the thing room to unfold, to grow, to build, and to manifest before your eyes. So, if you are waiting for something, if you're waiting for anything, believing for something, or maybe you're going through a growth and a change right now, I want to challenge you to surrender the thing, surrender the outcome, detach yourself from what it is, and know that when you surrender and when you detach, you are ultimately trusting God in a deeper way to manifest and prove Himself and show you just how good it can get. He's aligning you with the thing that you're looking for. And that is the beauty of all of this. You have to surrender in order to receive. You got to make more room. You got to clear out all of the clutter, right? So that you can have new things to come in. So I hope this helps you to lay the bricks for the foundation of the mansion, baby, that you desire. Okay. I hope this was helpful. Until the next episode, always remember that where the spirit guides, the mind creates. And where the mind goes, the body follows. And I'll catch you next time. Bye.